Witchcraft, the devil, pentagrams, tarot cards. The reason your one friend in primary school wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter, and also like the main convenient reason so many women went from very much alive to not so much alive. Witchcraft has existed in one shape or form since we were nothing but literal cavemen banging rocks together. We've discovered cave paintings from as far back as the Paleolithic period, depicting ancient shamans and deities, as well as those performing rituals in animal skins. So if it's been around so long, why is it so contradictory and confusing today? If you are anywhere in the social media space, like in the witchcraft space or like the spiritual space or anything like that, you will be constantly bombarded all the time with practitioners yelling at each other and hexing each other for perceived slights, cultural appropriation everywhere, and ungodly amounts of spiritual psychosis.
I'm seeing visions now. Angel who gives up their wings to live on Earth with the love of their life and is instantly hit by a car.
Like, it's a problem. And of course, this is the most prevalent on TikTok, which is our favorite place for internet sloth. But at the end of the day, you're gonna find it everywhere. And in a way, every online community does have its own little bench of evil just waiting to send out its next player. Every community has the bad parts, has the parts that no one wants to see, has the parts that the community tries to remove itself from because they're embarrassing or problematic or they don't reflect the values that that community holds. But when somebody is trying to come into the space and learn things that people have been practicing for centuries and centuries, and all they're met with is people genuinely threatening each other because somebody said that they were hexing the moon, like the actual moon.
Guys! Someone hexed the moon! Someone hexed the
It can be hard to learn anything at all. And while nobody is the be-all and end-all of knowledge on anything, let alone spirituality or witchcraft or anything to do with the occult, I've been practicing for almost 9 years now, and I feel like I'm at least a little bit qualified to talk and explain the basics. Witchcraft is defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary as rituals and practices that incorporate belief in magic and that are associated especially with neo-pagan traditions and religions. And while I believe this is a really good definition, it's not going to help anybody understand what those rituals or practices even are, let alone how to do them for yourself. And what is witchcraft? I feel like a lot of people are going to be watching this video not knowing what witchcraft even is and coming into it as a kind of morbid curiosity, because a lot of us have grown up with that thought and ideal that witchcraft and witches are just like women with pointy noses and pointy hats riding brooms and doing this and that and frogs and cauldrons, and some of it's a little bit racist. Anyway, at its core, the basis in the belief of witchcraft is the belief in manipulation of energy, because at a fundamental scientific level, everything is energy. It's described perfectly by Einstein and his famous equation E equals mc squared, which shows that mass and energy are interchangeable. This means that just as much as you and I are made of energy, so are your emotions and your reactions and your relationships and situations. Witchcraft is simply the idea that through the process of harnessing internal energies, we can manipulate external situations. Most people have already experienced some form of witchcraft in their daily life. You will have already experienced it if you've ever had a gut feeling about somebody that maybe hasn't done anything yet, but you just have that deep-seated feeling that they're a bad person or they're going to do something to you or to a loved one, but you have no basis in reality for that, and then it turns out to be true. Or if you can tell somebody is staring at you even though you can't see them at all. And while most individuals will chalk it up to instinct or coincidence, everything is energy, and instincts and coincidences are also energy. Cultures all around the world throughout history have used this energy to achieve goals and states of mind and communicate with divine figures of their religions and pantheons. African cultures often invoke the spirits of ancestors for healing, protection, divination, and reverence. Ancient Egyptians used their own form of witchcraft called Heka to protect individuals and their communities. Ancient Greece and Rome relied heavily on sorcerers and oracles like the Oracle of Apollo in Delphi to decide anything from wars to weddings, and even had their own goddess of witchcraft, Hecate. I could go on and on about different cultures and their respective practices. However, at the end of the day, Almost every region around the world, in all states and time except for extremely recently, have their own spiritual dogma and way of living in connection with the energy and the world and the spirits around them. But everything has to come to an end. This abundance of different cultural practices started to be overstepped, because of course it did. Beginning in 380 CE, when the Roman Empire declared that any religion other than Christianity is heretical and therefore illegal, this rhetoric continued to spread throughout Europe and the Mediterranean, and eventually the rest of the world with colonization. This caused folk magic and cultural practices which relied heavily on oral tradition to either become completely eradicated or be tucked away into secrecy. And while many Western countries now have freedom of religion, there are just as many Eastern countries where practicing anything but an Abrahamic religion can lead to your death. And I want to put out a statement that there is nothing wrong in believing in one of these Abrahamic religions. However, I feel like it's really important to recognize the systemic harm it has done to communities and other faiths. Like, approximately 1 to 3 million people died in the Crusades. Millions of indigenous people died from colonialism, which was justified with Christian faith. Tens of thousands were executed during the Spanish Inquisition, and even in the medieval period. Something as simple as being a woman could mean death at the hands of Christianity. The list goes on and on and on, like forever. And with this many casualties, it's really easy to understand how witchcraft and the spiritual practices that get entangled with it got a little confusing and lost on its way to now. Witchcraft now has splintered into many different individualized practices. However, I'm going to assume if you're watching this video and you're not here for complete just curiosity, you have most likely seen the recent internet occult explosion. You may follow a few creators who may often post their spell work and personal philosophy, and you probably want to know how to start without angering a lingering spirit or having energetic work come back at you. My first major recommendation is don't stop learning. No one knows everything. Always do your research on new practices, spells, spirits, and otherwise. Google is free. Use it. Please stop asking ChatGPT for your spell recipes. I know some of you are doing that. Stop it. Stop using AI for witchcraft.
My name is Xander Dingus.
My second piece of advice is try to figure out what kind of practitioner you'd like to be. Do you find yourself drawn to a specific type of witchcraft? Whether or not it's kitchen witchery or folk magic from your respective culture, ceremonial or practical magic. Are you from a specific culture with its own unique practices and rituals? Do you want to incorporate religion into your practice? Norse paganism, Hellenic polytheism, and Kemeticism are all very popular in the witchcraft space if you feel called to one or any other religion. Big disclaimer: stay within your realm of culture and open practices. This means if you're white, especially, this is a major thing. I completely understand if you are a new practitioner and you go into like a metaphysical store and you pick up white sage and you don't understand and you burn it and you know what I mean. Like it happens to so many of us because we don't understand that it's a closed practice. But now you know, if you don't already, do not use white sage if you are not indigenous or have ties to indigenous people and have been incorporated into their culture. Do not use white sage. Do not burn white sage. You are not smudging your house. You are cleansing it. Smudging is an indigenous cultural sacred practice. If you don't listen to that, you are just appropriating sacred practices that you have not been initiated into. Like, this includes hoodoo and voodoo and Santeria, and spirit animals are a closed practice as well. And especially use of the Kabbalah. There are plenty of things that are open and not closed to you. Do your research, please. When you feel you're ready to begin, start small. Start a manifestation journal or stir intentions for the day into your tea or coffee clockwise. If you do this, always word these intentions as if they have already happened. For example, I would say, I am beautiful. I am productive. I am strong. People love me. Instead of, I am becoming prettier. I will be productive. I will be strong. People will love me. Because the latter is telling the universe that you're not yet those things, and therefore it won't give them to you. I would also personally start to practice meditation in some way, shape, or form. It's not just a tool to reduce stress and anxiety, but also a fantastic way to learn how to control your energy and direct it to specific places. Many guided meditations will have you envision a white light or whatever colored light slowly moving down your body, for example. The more you do this, the easier it will be to focus your intentions on a spell or ritual. You can also pick up a crystal or two if you feel drawn to them. Learn the metaphysical properties of your houseplants and the herbs and spices you keep in your pantry. Learn your astrology chart. Match the primary color of your outfit for your intentions of the day. Pick up a tarot deck. Start a grimoire or book of shadows. These are all simple ways to bring a little bit of witchcraft into your every single day. And while they aren't elaborate spells you see online with 20 candles and a meticulously crafted altar, almost all witches started this way, with small, intentional practices. It is much easier and less overwhelming if you don't expect yourself to have all of these resources available to you immediately. Many people only use what they have around them and what grows in their community. But if you've passed these steps and you want to get into something a little bigger, I would always start with cleansing and protection. It is the basis for any spell work, and without it, it's kind of like building a skyscraper with no foundation. We cleanse to start with a blank slate during spells. It gets rid of any leftover energy from daily life, so it isn't accidentally getting into our work. Protection is to shield us from any unwanted energy that may persist during spell work, and to give us a sort of energetic barrier. There are an endless way to do both of these things. The most common ways to cleanse are with smoke, like incense or other burnt herbs, room sprays, the light of the sun or moon, and sound, like gongs or bells. As for protection, personally, I would have more than one form of protection going at a time, whether that be a talisman and a spell jar, or a home ward and a candle spell. It's always better to be prepared and not need it than to need it and not have it. As for where to perform these spells, most people have an altar of some sort. An altar is usually a table or other flat-topped raised surface where you can make offerings, perform spell work, honor ancestors, and do anything else that you need to do. Altars usually start small, as a corner of a shelf or desk with a few things laid about. And that's normal. Elaborate altars take time to build up as you find your personal path. My first altar was one that I set up on my makeup table when I was 13, with nothing but a few candles, a journal, and a couple crystals that I already had laying around. Now I have 3 altars in my home, 2 to honor Aphrodite and 1 for myself. My main Aphrodite altar is actually behind me here. Like, if I shift the camera, it is something that I have built up over years and years of saving for things and finding things at thrift stores and antique stores and things that just call to me. But not everybody has the freedom to have an altar like this. Many live in unaccepting homes. In this case, many people have pocket altars, shoebox altars, or simply no altar at all. This does not make you any less of a practitioner, and prioritizing your safety should always be number 1. The setup of an altar is also completely personal as well, but there are things that I do think makes a good point to start. First is something to cleanse with, then salt for general protection, white candles. If you need any color of candle, if you are really in desperate needs, you can use a white one. Oil. If you go online and you see all of those fancy spell candles with all the herbs and stuff all around them, there has to be something on that candle for all those herbs and ingredients to stick to. And this is usually an anointing oil of some kind. Sometimes, when I run out of anointing oil or just don't have any, I just use olive oil from my kitchen. You can also have your preferred herbs and spices. I just take mine, most of them, from my pantry. Some pepper, cloves, cinnamon, bay leaves, and rosemary. That will do you a lot of good. You're also gonna need a lighter if you're gonna light these candles, but I feel like most people already have one. A grimoire or a book of shadows to write down any information that you find. Personally, I don't have one. Well, I do, but it's really hard for me to have something physical that I remember to write in every single time because I tend to lose things a lot. My grimoire is on my PC. That gives me the control that I need, where if I find something out, I don't have to carry around this big book with me. Also, fire safety. Number 1 tip for witches and witchcraft: Learn your fire safety. The amount of times I've almost burnt down my house because I was like, oh my god, this spell is so powerful, I'm gonna put some more lighter fluid on it, and I was burnt down my house, is more than one. So fire safety, have a fire safe tray, have a fire extinguisher or sand or water or just something. Don't set your house on fire. But the biggest takeaway from all of this is that everything is personal. It's called witchcraft for a reason. You need to make your practice your own. What works for me isn't going to work for you. What works for Cindy down the road is not going to work for you. But if something works for you and you're not appropriating a culture or directly harming anybody, it's fine to hex and curse people. I do it. As long as you're not like harming someone who's never done anything bad. Do what works for you. And you cannot compare yourself to others, which I know is easier said than done because I'm not free of it either. But there's only harm in looking at somebody else's practice and wondering what's wrong with you because you don't have a massive fire-safe bowl outside that you can burn a gajillion herbs in. I don't have the resources to sacrifice a chicken to Hermes. That's fine. But there's only harm at looking at other people's curated life and spells and everything online and wondering why you're not them, even though it took years and years and probably a lot of money to get to that point. And obviously, there's much more I could touch on, like baneful magic and sigils and etc. But I think this gives a good foundation to build upon for anybody that's new to witchcraft. If people are interested in deep dives about specific topics, let me know. I'd be happy to make a more specialized video about a certain topic. As always, my social media links are in the description of this video, as well as the link to my website and Etsy, where I sell specialized spell work, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!